What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is founder of the 7-on-7 Trillion Boys football team, Mr. Josh Stupin. Thank you so much for coming on, man. He is our first guest back for about a year. So I really appreciate you coming on, man, and taking time to do this. It sounds a little echoey because we just set up the new studio. We got a new spot at Kingdom Nutrition. And so thank you guys. Go follow, go check out Kingdom Nutrition. And so Josh, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'd say my story starts in my freshman year of college. I was a football walk-on quarterback at SMU.
Oh, and nice.
Yeah, it was, the COVID year. It was 2020.
Yeah.
And then going to the new year in the winter, 2021, it wasn't easy because of all the restraints with having to wear a mask and the shot. It made things difficult, but I had to, persevere, stay on my coaches, text them, showing that I, had a lot of interest, wanted to be a part of the program because there was so much transition at that time. But through the mix of all that, spring football was about to start. And I remember just being in my dorm room and getting a call from my brother on the phone. And he said, "Hey, Josh, I want to start a 7-on-7 team." I was like, "What? That sounds so corny." Like, no. I finally, I'm in college. I experienced so much through my high school football experience in Southern California. Let me put you on with some of the local teams that, are very reputable, like Ground Zero or Premium. And he says, no, you don't understand. I want to start my own. I was like, I get it. We're not doing that. He's like, I already got a name. I was like, okay, well, what are we going to call it? He goes, the Trillion Boys. I said, oh, okay, I'm all in. Let's do this thing. That's too fire. So I hung up the phone and immediately I was super optimistic. I called one of my mentors who helped me kind of in the recruiting process. And I was like, yo, we were going to do this 7-on-7 team. There's a tournament in Vegas in 2 weeks. Let's do this thing. He said, all right, I'm down. So we, kind of attacked recruiting our local guys. And a lot of the bigger teams that I mentioned, they were kind of taking it off because of COVID. And we were, about to start up. So we called Damani Jackson, who was the number one player in California as a 5-star corner at Mater Dei. And he wanted to play. And it was a blessing. We had him on the team. He brought Will Johnson, who was just a draft pick in this previous NFL draft. And from there, we've just kind of been running with it. We've had numerous 4- and 5-star players. We've kind of dominated and ran the state. Guys like DJ Lee, guys like Xavier Brown, a ton of talent has come through our program. We've been able to recruit nationally, places like Dallas, Atlanta, Ohio now, Miami. It's been amazing, to just be able to be in the forefront of kind of recruiting and all that stuff.
What do you think started that for your brother? Like, what was the reason for him wanting to start the team, and did he want to get more training in, or what was that reasoning for him?
So yeah, we're separated by 4 years. So he was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
So they just, finished their spring season that year. He was at Corona Del Mar High School and he was like, okay, I'm done with tackle. Now what? Well, it's time for 7-on-7. And he has a very entrepreneurial mindset and just wanted to create his own.
And then where'd you guys get the name from?
So funny enough, I don't think I've ever publicized this story, but Big Nick and Nico Amlavea, Matt Amlavea, the Big Ten quarterbacks, there was this little spring league in the desert, like Laughlin or whatever that is. And they had this team called the Platinum Boys, and they were really good. And Jack's like, I really like the sound of that, but platinum, that's not right. He just came up with Trillion. It was pretty cool.
Oh, so he just came up with it on his own.
Yeah, he just kind of used the Platinum Boys kind of feel, the ring to it, and just came up with Trillion. Yeah.
And then how do you guys now recruit versus how you recruited when you first started the team?
Yeah, when we first started, it was definitely much more of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Having to kind of sell ourselves. Now, our track record through our alumni kind of speaks for itself, and most kids hit us up. And then it's a lot more of us, picking and choosing the right guys that fit our program in terms of, okay, what kind of person are you off the field? How are you going to treat our program? How do you carry yourself? And yeah, usually we just message over Instagram, talk to the parents and whatnot.
Okay. That's awesome. Cause I feel like I'm a lineman coach, so I'm not involved in 7-on-7 a ton, but obviously it's it's a necessity, for guys that want to continue to develop and hone in on their skills. They got to go do something in the off season or go join a team. But how important is it to you about the character that they have off the field? Because it's now, I think, and I just listened to a podcast with Chad Ochocinco talking about how everything he was penalized for is now celebrated. It's like a branding play when these guys go and celebrate after a touchdown or they have a great catch.
Yeah.
People want that now, and it sometimes could mess with their character off the field, thinking that their doo-doo doesn't stink.
Yeah.
So how do you guys go about that, or how important is that for your guys' program to have good kids with good character?
Yeah, I honestly think that you hit it on the nail. There's a super fine line between, having that enthusiasm on the field, being able to celebrate, and then off the field, being humble enough to maybe pick something up because we're just traveling, a few staff members, but we have a lot of gear. We have a lot of things that are put into the program that we need the extra help. Someone that's unselfish enough to be, a man of character when we're not within the white lines. So, we've dealt with, the guys that are cancer to the program, staying up past curfew, causing us issues. We've done this a long time, issues of people, stealing from the hotel and charging things to the room. And it comes to a point where if you're going to be selfish, the team is just so much bigger than one individual. We've been able to move on from those guys, even no matter how talented they are. There's always the next man up and someone that is going to be maybe one half step below you on the football field, but such a better man of character. And that's the guy we'd rather take.
What type of things do you guys do outside of practice or outside of the field to help guys with either character building or just talk to them about their attitude and kind of their work ethic?
Yeah, I think it all starts with from the time they touch down, wherever they fly in from, the first thing we'll do is we'll gather the team together and we'll just set expectations. Yeah. We run a clean program and we'll start every trip off with a prayer before the first game of each tournament. We'll pray. And I think that just sets the value of, okay, this is bigger than us. We're here for a purpose, and it's not just about the clicks and the views that, there's something bigger that we're achieving, and that's to glorify God through everything that we do. But on top of that, we'd love to, help the local, church. We definitely put things together where we can go volunteer our time, put together camps and events that the kids could come to and that they can participate in and be, helpful in terms of being a camp counselor or whatnot to give back to the community.
That's awesome, man. What made you, selfishly, what made you want to stick around? Because it's a lot to deal with. I'm sure scheduling games, recruiting, getting the plays in, like just everything that encompasses not only being a coach, but being the founder of it and the owner. Everything falls back on you. So do you have like a team that helps you out? Do you have people around you that kind of help you in that aspect?
Yeah, we have a really strong team. I wouldn't be here without, my brother, who's my co-founder. And then just so many people along the way, like our defensive coordinator, our team manager. We have an operations director. We have a content team and just a media director. And I'm lucky enough to call those guys my best friends. And that's something that we love doing together. And honestly, I think that I've, transitioned into this role because my playing career ended, and that this is the way I get to fulfill my passion in football. Is I don't get to play anymore, but at least I get to help other guys get further than I was,
How hard was that? Because I feel like a lot of people have a hard time transitioning from being an athlete, all the attention's on me, my schedule, my eating habits, like everything I do is for my career. But then you get to transition into now pouring into other people. Like how hard or easy was that for you?
I think it was really hard. I think that when you're an athlete, you're all in. And so just like you mentioned, training, nutrition, I getting to school and making sure my grades are good so that I can have an opportunity to go play at the next level. It wasn't because I loved history and English, but I loved football, right? I want to make sure I'm getting no red flags from college coaches. So having that, mindset, and then, it's over. you have to replace it with something that you also love to do. And I'm lucky enough that Trillium Boys was an easy transition for me to get into that. But there's still times I miss putting on the pads and, strapping your helmet and getting coached up and throwing the ball. But it's awesome to see other people like the kids that I get to coach, get awesome college commitments, get offers, go on to the next level. How we had a player drafted, like I mentioned, this past season, this past draft class. It's just awesome to get fulfilled in those other ways as well.
That's awesome. And do you feel, I think I know the answer, but do you feel, not to want to take credit for it, but do you feel like you played a little part in that when people have that success?
I think it has, corny as it is or whatnot, but it takes a village. I think that, it does take a village for these athletes to go Division I, from their parents, driving them, from the high school coaches that pour so much into them, from the college coaches that give them the opportunity, to someone like me that kind of helps the transition of both of those. I think not one person can take credit, but you definitely take, confidence and pride in being able to help them.
So what do you guys do now? Because how long has Trillium Boys been around?
We've done 4 full seasons, so we're going into our 5th.
And then you guys have had a ton of success and are now one of the premier 7-on-7 teams.
Right.
Like, how do you guys not get big headed, and how do you keep that success going?
I think that the biggest thing is there's always these new feeder teams that are coming up and they're challenging us. Not to mention any names, but even this past season, there's competition of new teams popping up here and there, and the kids, they look over their shoulder and they're like, wait, that's new. That's cool. Yeah. So we have to keep our edge every year, and it's really beneficial. My brother's still 20 years old, freshman in college, that he understands what's cool and what's, has that edge. But every year we have to come up with something new or the kids get bored,
Is that like a big battle?
Oh yeah.
That you guys deal with? Just something coming up that's new, or here's a new color scheme, here's a new uniform, or whatever.
These kids these days, loyal. They're loyal. They're more loyal than they get credit for with the transfer portal and all this other stuff. But they definitely love the flavor of the month, we'll say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So do you guys do things like for team bonding and things like that outside of just the
it's
games?
Huge for us. I think that's what sets us apart is we'll have maybe 4 to 5 events in the off season to keep our players engaged so we don't lose them. We'll take them down to the beach and do a beach football game. We'll do a pool day. We'll take them to dinner. We'll make sure that we're, constantly communicating with parents, having a group chat. Cause if you, let them loose for 3-4 months, they're going to find a new home.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's crazy. The biggest recruiting this day and age is recruiting your own roster.
Really?
I mean, yeah, you let a kid no communication for 5 months thinking, oh, he's in season, he's busy. There's going to be someone that comes up and snatches him. It's happened to us year after year.
That's crazy. Well, they're just going to promise them the world and say, we're going to get you these looks and play in these tournaments, or here's your gear or whatever. How do you, has NIL affected the 7-on-7 industry or no?
I think it has in 2 different ways. One, that the kids are expecting more earlier. So you kind of have to either manage those expectations, or you have to, help some guys get some early brand deals and some early looks. And then the other thing is that, NIL has made kids, I guess you'd say, have an unrealistic expectation of, you're just still a high school athlete. Just because Travis Hunter is getting these big brand deals, it's just because you're playing at Mater Dei or Mission, one of the big schools, doesn't mean that's the same for you. You got to manage the expectations.
That's crazy. Because I that's what I'm fearful of, is that college football is now slowly starting to become a business. And I know personally guys that have transferred to rival schools just because they got paid more. And so, like, back to your point about loyalty, where have you guys dealt with that in the past?
Yes, we've experienced
that.
Names no, anything, of course. But to a degree, I think everyone in this space is, has that happening to them, right? Yeah. Where, a rival school will offer, let's just say 2 times what this school is offering. Or in the 7-on-7 world, a lot of kids come up to us and they just assume that we're paying kids. But we're not paying any kids. We're not in that business. We can't afford that business. We're not in it to do that business. But they come, okay, I've heard this kid gets this. Where's my $500 for the tournament? No, not so fast.
Yeah.
There's no $500, Zelle coming because you showed up to play with us. We have a huge track record and alumni that it speaks for ourselves. There's value in the program that we don't have to pay to get that.
100%. So what do you guys do to keep that edge now? Because you guys obviously have a great track record, have produced some of the best talent in the skilled positions that have gotten scholarships. Like you mentioned, you just had a guy get drafted. So what do you guys do now to kind of set you apart from everybody else?
I think that the biggest thing at this point, which I think you could attest to being at a big time high school, being part of the coaching staff as well, is just got to keep winning. When you start losing to those teams, those rivals, and your record looks around 500, that's when the whispers become real talks and kids start to leave and they question the validity of your program. But I think we're 29-4 this season, and then in California, I think we're like 14-1. So that track record of just they can't beat us, and that whatever we're doing, we're continuing to do, and it's still working to this day. And because kids don't want to go out and lose, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Kids hate losing. I mean, I hate losing. So the fact that we're just continuing to win and our process is continuing to work, it's just been...
It speaks for itself.
Yeah, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. How do you guys develop plays? Like, do you meet as a staff? Do you get input? Do you go to coaches retreats? Like, what do you guys do to build or develop your guys' playbook?
Honestly, my offensive coordinator at SMU is Garrett Riley, which is Lincoln Riley's brother. So my brother's in Lincoln Riley's offense, and I got to experience Garrett Riley's offense, which is all the same bit terminology, plays basically under Mike Leach, which is all the air raid. So I've just kind of put my own spin on that to kind of 7-on-7-fy it, and I've just stuck to that. I'm surprised teams don't catch on by now, but those plays work. They drive us down the field, and we're scoring touchdowns. So
now on a more personal note, what do you do when there's an off season? Not just for the program, but for yourself. What are things that you want to pursue or things that you're passionate about? Because and I don't know, but is it a full-time job? Is running a 7-on-7 organization something that you're doing year round? Like how does that look for people that don't know? Yeah,
I'd say that 7-on-7 is never going to be someone's career.
Yeah.
So it's a full part-time job. You still have to send your tax and manage it, but once it's up and running, if there's not too much day to day in terms of the off season. So I'm pursuing my own career and my own goals outside of that is still affiliated with football that I'm super excited about. I'm still in school, working on my master's degree, which is set to graduate probably in August. So that's exciting. But in terms of the 7-on-7, what I do in the off season, it's just back to square one every year. Recruiting the roster, making sure that we identify the players that are upcoming from the 8th and 9th grade that we want to go attack, making sure that we plan out our new designs, our new gear. How are we going to, make things feel special for this year's class? Planning the events and schedule. That's a big thing. What states do we want to hit? What tournaments are we going to go to? And then from there, putting together those off-season events, just feeling that family vibe and atmosphere. And then we'll always host a big-time tryout or showcase before the year. This past year, we were able to have it at SoFi Stadium and attracted about 1,000 kids, and it was an awesome experience. And from there, we go play, and we like to, have fun with it, be loud, be exciting. But at the end of the day, play football the right way.
Yeah. How are you... It's great to go big and do big things, but how do you make sure that you continue to level up every year? Because I think once you do something like a tryout at SoFi, that almost becomes expectation.
Yeah.
And then they're going to think like every year, not that I don't know your plans,
I get
but not that every year you're not going to do that, but like how do you make sure to keep it fun and enjoyable?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is being creative. Sometimes it's not SoFi. Maybe it's at Mission, but we bring in an NFL receiver. And if you can guard the NFL receiver, you get a cash prize.
Yeah.
Just creating little wrinkles to it to keep kids engaged. But I think that year to year, it's just a lot about consistency as well. It's just, okay, we set a standard. Now we have to hit that every year.
Yeah. Where do you, being that you guys have had a ton of success, where do you see the future of the program?
Well, if I'm going to be transparent, I think that the program is very, symbiotic relationship with Overtime and OT7.
Mm-hmm.
They do a great job of their tournaments. The streaming that they do, our games are now on NFL Network, national TV. Their events are super, high quality, a great experience. So the bigger they grow and our league grows, the bigger we can grow. And eventually, I think that OT7 turns into a league,
Mm-hmm.
a structured maybe 12 to 16 teams with us, Cam Newton, RG3 now has a team, and the select group where we play each other year round. And those are the kind of the select teams that only attract the top guys. And that league can now get a TV deal. And through the TV deal, our teams could, ideally make revenue. And that would be the ultimate goal, is to be in a league centered, opposed to, okay, we show up to this backyard boogie, this tournament in the IE, then we go to Arizona, and just so Moment Double, just a stricter, cohesive league.
Yeah, if there's just playing the bad guy, and because I coach high school football, do you think that could start interfering with kids even wanting to play tackle football? Because if there is, we're in Southern California, there's a lot of really smart people, there's a lot of wealthy people that can either buy themselves into that league if it ever does develop, or can sponsor teams. And now the kids are making money. Like, why would they want to go play at their local high school when they can go play 7-on-7, which I'm sure has less injuries? Not that it's not physical, but that has less injuries. There's not as much damage to the body because you're not getting hit every play, and then they're just gonna say, oh, I'm just gonna go do 7-on-7 because I can go make money doing this now.
Well, you see that model in basketball with Overtime. They basically have their own league, the OTE, and kids, instead of going to their typical high school or, an elite program like the Oak Hill of the world or IMG Academy, they go directly to the OTE leagues, a league, they're getting paid, and then from there they get drafted. The one inhibitor, I think, is that the colleges, which is the motivation for all these guys, is go D1, play college football. They're never going to skip out on the tackle film.
Yeah.
You could be a 7-on-7 superstar, but if you're a 5'5" slot and you don't have tackle film, you're not going to go anywhere. So it's all predicated on what the colleges dictate and their standard. Like, everyone wants to go to USC, a Georgia, a Texas, Alabama.
Sure.
If they won't recruit the strictly 7-on-7 film, then it's not going to become a...
What happens when they do?
Well,
just one. You just need one to start it, and then that can build something.
Then I think that Showing Boys is in a great position.
Yeah.
And in that case, we're all happy.
Yeah, and I think when there's change like that, people they got to be able to adjust. You can only hate on it or be negative about something changing so much. Like, people always talk about Uber and how that completely revolutionized the taxi cab industry, and how there's angry taxi cab drivers and they hated Uber. But it's like, if you don't pivot or make adjustments, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And so what do you want to do now? Going back to you've had the success, you've had a great program, something that you've been able to do with your brother. How do you translate that, or how do you duplicate that into something else?
Yeah, I think that the transition is yet to be foreseen. I think that there's a lot of ideas we have. Whether that's, go coach in college, create an NIL agency. Maybe we create our own youth league to where Trillion Boys now has a bunch of teams that come and play, from every age group. Because we have that attraction. We've thought about a clothing line. We've thought about a product. So there's a lot of ways we can take this. We're in the infant stages of still conceptualizing all that, which I think is, stressful, but a lot of fun. There's a lot of ways we can take it. I mean, I'm hoping I could find the right guidance and the right, mindset of how to navigate. But right now we're just still figuring it all out and having fun, just pulling up to the tournaments and seeing our guys make crazy plays and, having the fun of all that.
Where did you guys, besides being passionate about it, where did you guys get that work ethic from to continue to pursue things after you've, maybe made a little mistake or had an obstacle to overcome? Like, where do you get that to continue to strive?
I think it was instilled to us at a young age through our parents. My my dad, you know, he owns his own business and works really hard, and we've always been able to see that. And then our mom is just completely a rock in our family, just spiritually, you know, motivationally. She just loves to tell us that, you know, go for your dream, go for what you love. And at the end of the day, just make sure God's first and all that. And, you know, they'll be proud of us. And that's been an awesome support system for us.
Has that been hard to keep your faith, or to bring your faith into that? Because it's almost looked down upon, you know, like you're this big rah guy and you're supposed to be tough and hard and it's football.
Yeah.
But then you are a believer and you're praying before that. Do people ever talk crap about it, or?
Honestly, I feel like for me, God and football are such a hand in hand, you know, relationship. I think that God is a lot more, you know, alive in football than people give it credit for. I think that you hear the stories of maybe Tim Tebow or like faith-led football players that make a huge impact. But even at the high school level, most teams will pray before a game. A lot of kids grow up in a faith, you know, led household where, like the Polynesians, it's a big thing. A lot of them can't even, you know, work out on Sundays because they say, I can't skip church. That's big for us. It's okay. We need to move our practice back. A lot of these guys do love God. And the thing that, you know, is different is, you know, figuring out and kind of just feeling out and growing in your faith of having to surrender, you know, believing in God, praying to God, but also surrendering that. And that's something that, you know, our program likes to talk about and help guide these guys with. But for the majority, most of our guys they believe in God and they love the prayer, and they would pray on their own time before a game regardless.
That's awesome. So, that's good to
hear.
My
experience.
All right. Where could people find you? Where can they follow you? Is there anything you want to plug or you know, talk about, promote, whatever you want, man?
Shoot. Trillion Boys, our next game, our next tournament is the OT7 Finals. That's in Miami, June 26th through 29th. You can watch us on YouTube at the OT7 live stream, and then some of our games will be on NFL Network, and we're going to try to come take home the national championship, and we're super excited about that.
That's awesome. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Josh Stupin, JoshStupin.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on, and you know, it's a little bit of a drive for you, but thank you for making the time and kind of sharing your story, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for this. It was awesome,
man. Remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it.